Now, don't get me wrong. No one is asking you to be in the corner crying. And I know that's not your thing. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new, my name is Kuzi, and over here we're into beauty, we're into lifestyle, and we're into fashion. Honestly, a little bit of everything. I am so excited to be finally back on YouTube after a 4-month hiatus, guys. And I know you guys are wondering, where have you been? What's been going on? Part of that reason is actually why I'm making today's video. So I've wanted to make this video for the past 2 months. On the 10th of October, it's actually Mental Health Day. And you know, 2020 had some things. So I know you saw this title and we're about to dive right into it. Before we talk any further, I just want to say thank you guys so much for everyone who is still supporting this little baby channel that I started a few months ago. I really do enjoy this platform because it gives me space to express myself in a way that I never have before, and I think that's a really powerful thing to do. So yeah, thank you so much for supporting this channel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, guys, let's dive in. Guys, so first thing is first, I know you guys are wondering, sis, where have you been? And some of you know and some of you don't know, I'm still a student. So I have been dealing with online schooling, working at the same time, you know, trying to have some kind of a social life, trying to take care of my mental health, and everything in between. And I've been very busy. Long story short, something had to give, and it was either going to be me or was going to be YouTube. And it couldn't be me, guys. Below, if you're a student and this semester tried to come for your neck, because I know it definitely tried to come for my neck. What is mental health like in Africa or amongst African people?
Honestly, I'm gonna take a drink first. This is good.
I've taken a back seat and I've really been trying to observe things happening around me, within me, trends, patterns. And I was like, wait a minute, there are certain things that keep coming up. There's a reoccurring, you know, pattern that is associated with my people. And I feel like we need to talk about this because there's not enough mental health awareness. And the truth is, just in general, we're raised to be tough. We're raised to be, you know, to persevere in every situation. And with that comes, you know, I don't want to use this term, but it's the only thing that's coming up to my head right now. Mental health awareness is not really there, to be honest. It's rarely talked about. If it is talked about at all, it's a few people who talk about it because you're just taught to push through. You're taught that if someone else can do it, so can you. If things get tough, you get tougher. And no one really wants to pay attention or does pay attention to the fact that your state of mind really controls how everything else happens in your life, and that's very important. And so the first thing that I want to talk about actually is the differences between how girls are raised and how boys are raised. And boy, oh boy, it finally hits you like it hit me. I was like, damn, you can be growing up in the same household, but with two completely different mentalities. So just to touch on it a little bit, you know, girls are raised to be nurturers, homemakers about our feelings, and the boys are not raised like that. Boys are raised to be providers, raised to be tough, they're raised to be strong, they're raised to be independent. And if you're crying, it's like, what are you crying about? You know, they don't express their emotions as a result. And there's just this nice divide between the two. You know, it's so funny because what happens in your childhood and everything that you experience, if it's not dealt with appropriately, I'm finding keeps feeding back even into your adult life. Like, things come back. And that is the first thing that I wanted to just lay out there. Comment down below if you agree or if you disagree with me, because personally, I'm just speaking from my experience and my observations. I'm not imposing any of my beliefs or my opinions on anybody else, guys. Okay, guys, so why am I talking about how we're raised, right? There's another point that's coming later in this video that I actually want to link back to that. But before we even get there, let's dive into mental health and family. Guys, have you ever gone to a family function and something small happened? Like, let's paint a scenario here. Aunt Jane was supposed to put onions in the potato salad, and then she ends up forgetting to put the onions in the potato salad. And then maybe your other aunt or your mother, finds out about it, and it becomes this really big deal, during dinner or on Thanksgiving. And everyone's sitting back and wondering, is this just about the potato salad? Or is there something more here? This is something that's been festering for 10, 20 years even. And now you never go to Aunt Jane's house. You never see your cousin. So this is what it is. I'm finding that in African culture, respect seems to be a more important concept than confrontation. So people would rather sweep things under the rug and not address it because we want to appear respectful, or we don't know how to confront someone in a respectful way and bring across our opinion. Comment down below if you know what I'm talking about, how some of these things are, eating us alive on the inside. There's so many situations that maybe could have been talked about where two people could have just sat down and had a conversation, but because that didn't happen, there's resentment and there's hate and there's distance and there's toxicity. And one other thing that I find too is this concept that people have about time, that time heals everything. And the truth is, I do think that there's certain things that time will deal with, but I find that oftentimes time just makes you numb. Time makes you insensitive. But I think we should separate time and healing. They're two completely different concepts. Just because you've become numb to a situation and that it's not talked about and you live with it, it doesn't mean you've healed. It'll take the smallest thing to trigger you right back into that spot. And now you're upset or you're moping around and people are confused about why you're acting that way about something so small. And it's because now you've been triggered, and that feeling you had right from the beginning about the original issue that happened 10 years ago is back like it never left. And so I really strongly disagree with this whole thing about, oh, just give it time. I think, certain issues can go away with time, but for the most part, if you are able to process what you're feeling and get to a place where you can articulate yourself clearly, respectfully, I think it's very freeing, and I think it's something that we need to start doing in our culture, which is something that we were never taught, and is something that the people that raised us were never taught, and I know some people will blame their guardians and their parents, but really I really don't, because I've come to understand that they could only really give us what they knew. So they also tried to take from their experiences and the things that they wanted to change, and from the things that they were taught, things that were passed down to them, to raise new people in this world. So it's, you get to a certain point in your life when you become an adult, and unfortunately or fortunately, it's now your responsibility to look back at how were you raised, what values were drilled into your mind, what things were drilled into your mind that you may or may not want to decide to depart from. I don't blame the people that raised us, because everyone is doing the best that they can, and we need to show them some grace. Because there's no manual for how to raise somebody. There's no perfect way of doing it. Everyone is trying to do it whilst learning from their mistakes. And I personally think it's up to our generation. Now that mental health awareness is out there, now that we're talking about it, now that we're learning to deal with it in healthier ways, it's our responsibility to make sure that for the next generation, which is our children and our grandchildren, that we teach them how to navigate mental health. We teach them that it's important. We teach them that it's something that needs to be talked about.
Okay, so I'm
So, the guys, African men and African boys. Now, listen, guys, I'm not a man, obviously, and I'm just trying to, articulate what I have observed. So, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Everyone knows, I think, at this point about the male ego. Undoubtedly, men are raised differently from girls. We talked about that. And there's something, this thing that people call an ego that I honestly am still trying to understand myself, because I'm on the receiving end of this ego. What I do know is that it's actually something that is ingrained in them at such a young age that they need to be macho and they need to be strong all the time, and no one talks about their feelings and no one cries. Man doesn't want this ego to be bruised, and you guys, you want respect and you want to feel empowered and you want to feel important and you want to feel, also cared about. But the reason why, this is coming up is because you guys are raised, to not express yourselves as African men. You're raised to suppress your feelings, you're raised to power through, you're raised to push through, to provide. And as a result, you guys are not the greatest at communicating, and I think I can say that quite honestly. And I just want to start off by saying to those men or young men or boys that weren't raised to put their mental health at the front, of a situation, but are trying to break free from that mold and are going to therapy for different reasons, or even just the recognition that you need to go to therapy, or that it's okay to talk to somebody, outside of your situation who can listen to you. I really want to say you guys are doing an amazing job, not just for yourselves, but for the future generation, because you've realized that it's okay to let certain things out. Now, don't get me wrong. No one is asking you to be in the corner crying. And I know that's not your thing, but I think, it's important once in a while to be able to express how you're feeling. There's a fine line between, protecting your ego and also being communicative and expressing, especially, I guess, in a relationship setting where, you want to still be the man and you want to be the alpha male. That's fine. But I think, being aware also of where you are mentally is another good thing. And one thing that I've discovered too in 2020 is just that, women think men don't talk to them, and men don't even talk to each other about the things that are really pressing on the heart, the things that are like really going on, And when I realized that, I was really sad. Honestly, if you can't go to your cousin or if you can't go to Bob, your friend, seek a therapist, seek therapy. It's not shunned upon to talk about your feelings. There's nothing wrong with going to therapy, realizing that you're in a situation where you need somebody to talk to. It doesn't have to be often, but I think breaking free from that mindset of like, I don't need to talk about my feelings, what does that benefit me? Or, how is this third party person who doesn't know about my situation going to help me? And starting to realize that these are trained professionals that are educated and paid to guide you through your issue and help you to see things from a different perspective. So if you have access to that, please take it. If you have no one to talk to, please take that option and, seek professional advice about your situation. But just as long as you are on top of your mental health, as long as you know where you are up here, I think, the men in our generation, in our culture, could really benefit from, using that. Okay, so the last thing that I want to touch on, this is for my ladies. So I have a message, let's call it a message, for young ladies like myself who are in these social interactions, in these social circles with our young men. If you take nothing else from this video, please take this. it is not always your fault. Now let me explain. Because of our differences, like the differences between men and women, I find that a lot of times when in these social interactions, things don't work out, for some reason, a woman's first instinct is, what could I have done wrong? What could I have done right? What could I have changed? Is it how I look? Is it my personality? And we tend to point the finger at ourselves a lot of the times. And I'm just here to say that I think 50% of the time, it has nothing to do with you. And this is because when we get into these social interactions, like, we forget that, outside of our interactions with people are dealing with so many different things. People are dealing with childhood traumas, loss in various capacities, anxieties about everyday life, pain. People are dealing with insecurities. And unfortunately, sometimes those things feed into these interactions that we try to have with people, and they, sort of express it onto us, or, and we're just left confused. Like, was that really what that was about? And, women are just so nurturing, and I think it's just because of our maternal instinct. I think because we are meant to raise kids and to grow kids in our bodies, we just have so much patience and such a big heart. We forgive so many things, and we just have a capacity to keep giving all the time. If you went into a situation with an open mind, an open heart, and you were so genuine and something still didn't work out, don't forget that sometimes the people that we are talking to are dealing with so many of the things of their own. And that being said, it becomes your responsibility as a young woman to pull yourself from a situation, without blaming yourself and without pointing the finger at yourself, knowing that if someone is not ready to meet you where you're at, it's not your fault. And I feel that that's very important, because young women, you get so thrown off your game. Now you have self-esteem issues. You question your body. Was the other woman prettier? Was the other woman more educated? And now you start to compare yourself. And no, sweetie, it's not always about you. And I think once you realize that and you recognize that, you can pull away from a situation with your mental health intact. All that being said, you guys, that brings us to the end of this video. What do you think about my 2 cents and my 3 cents? Let's spark a conversation in the comments below. Are you an African woman? Are you an African man? What do you think about everything that I had to say about this video? I'm so grateful to be back on this platform. I'm so happy because, as you can tell, I have a lot to say. Make sure you subscribe down below, and I'm going to link my socials so that you can follow me on Instagram, on Snapchat, and let's just get to know each other, you guys. Happy holidays. This is such a special time of the year, and as we all know, so many people did not make it, and I'm just so grateful to be here. I hope you guys are too. And that being said, thank you again for watching my video, and I'll see you guys the next time I upload. Bye.